Ms. Marvel was not for everyone, but with it already known that she will show up in the Marvel's film, a quick summary of the show will fill you in on any details you may need to know for the future of the MCU. I watched Ms. Marvel, so you don't have to. This is Exasperated Nerd Explains. The series begins following Kamala Khan in high school, where she is a super fan of Captain Marvel, making fan films about the Avengers and wanting to attend the first Avengers Con to participate in a Captain Marvel costume contest with her own cosplay. Wanting to add her own personal flair to the costume, her friend Bruno, who is knowledgeable about science and tech, builds her special light-up gloves, but Kamala also grabs a bangle that had been passed down in her family. Being a young Muslim girl, her parents do not want her to go and attend this sort of party, but she sneaks out with Bruno anyways, putting on the bangle at the con. She sees strange visions, and during the costume contest, activates a power, creating energy constructs out of what appears to be light, endangering and then saving an acquaintance from school. Viral footage of this incident puts her on the radar of Damage Control, who wants to capture her and has her hiding her secret from everyone except for Bruno. Together they have a training montage where he analyzes her powers and she starts getting greater control over them. She tries to ask her mother about the origins of the bangle, but does not get a clear answer other than it was her grandmother's. They discuss family stories about her grandmother and her great-grandmother, Aisha.
Sana always said that she followed a trail of stars.
Kamala meets a new love interest, boy, named Kamran, who seems to instantly take a liking to her and offers to help her learn how to drive. Help she sorely needs. While attending an evening gathering at her mosque, a young boy nearly falls to his death, but Kamala comes to the rescue, though it was not without its own hiccups. This really gets Damage Control on her as she tries to get away, and she is rescued from her pursuit by Cameron in his car, where he introduces Kamala to his mother, Najma, who reveals that she is a jinn, which they also call clandestine or clandestine.
Ajnabi, Majnun, unseen, the list goes on.
And that Kamala's great-grandmother Aisha was one as well. This group of jinn were displaced from their own home dimension and need her power with the bangle to open the veil between dimensions and return home. She agrees to help them. However, Bruno, being familiar with her powers, determines that if she were to do so, it would likely result in the destruction of the planet. Kamala just tells Clandestine that she needs some more time to figure out a different way to use her powers to get them home, and even after waiting for years and years, they decide they cannot allow her to find a way for them to get home without planetary destruction, and crash her brother's wedding in order to force her to open the veil between the dimensions. Warned of the danger by Kamran, she pulls the fire alarm to get people to safety. During the ensuing fight, Kamala and Najma touch and see a vision of a train right before Damage Control comes in and arrests all of Clandestine, including Kamran, with Kamala barely escaping. She receives a call from her grandmother that evening that she must go see her in Pakistan, as she had also seen visions of the train, which was the same train where her mother Aisha had disappeared and she was almost separated from her father. Kamala and her mother go to Pakistan, where Kamala runs into, or rather briefly fights, a member of the Red Dagger organization who wear red bandanas and throw, you guessed it, daggers. This is also another potential love interest character for Kamala. The organization explains that they have been fighting with clandestine for generations and are trying to prevent them from opening the veil and ending the world. Clandestine escapes from a laughably sad damage control prison set, but Najma leaves her son behind, saying he had betrayed them by warning Kamala. Clandestine arrives in Pakistan and attacks the Red Daggers while Kamala is present. During the battle, once again her power activates uncontrolled and she is propelled back in time to the train she had seen in her previous vision. It is revealed how her great-grandmother and great-grandfather met, fell in love, and had a child. It was around the time of the partition where India and Pakistan split along mostly religious lines. Kamala's great-grandmother Aisha meets with Najma, who is saying she must bring the bangle so they can return home, but Aisha, choosing her new family, convinces her husband to flee to Pakistan with the excuse of the current discrimination against Muslims. At the crowded train station, Aisha realizes others of clandestine are nearby, and she is stabbed and killed by Najma. At this point, Kamala shows up and finds her dying great-grandmother, who asks her to get her daughter on the train. Kamala finds her grandmother as a child and uses her powers to lead her back to her family, after which she returns to the present, appearing to have been the past for like a solid 5 or 10 minutes. Having traveled through time, accidentally opens the veil between dimensions, which slowly starts expanding. One of the Jinn walks up to the tear thinking they can go home and is immediately killed. Kamala asks Najma about closing it, and seeing that it is clearly not a doorway home for her anyways, she agrees to close it, having a hero turn after just seeing her stab someone a few minutes ago in screen time. Realizing it will save her son but cost her life, she somehow sends her powers across the world to Kamran as she closes the tear and dies. Kamala's mother shows up in time to realize that her daughter has powers and witness some of this. Kamran, back in New Jersey, goes to Bruno for help, being on the run with brand new powers, after which Damage Control immediately finds them with a drone, which shoots a missile when Kamran attacks it. Kamala's mom gives her a superhero costume when they get back to Jersey, and then Kamala meets up with Bruno and Kamran as they are trying to run from Damage Control, eventually holding up in their high school where Kamala's allies and relatives show up to help hold off Damage Control until they can smuggle Kamran out of the country thanks to help from the Red Daggers. Damage Control agents discover what they think is a bomb, which would be a very good stalling tactic, and then it just plays music, which prompts the retreating agents to then go through the school anyway, where they encounter Home Alone-style traps and inconveniences, while Kamala's group uses social media to rally the locals around them. More serious battles ensue as they fire actual bullets instead of fancy future tech at Kamran, where Kamala tries to protect Kamran while also preventing him from going too far and killing people with his powers. She also says her catchphrase from the comics, embiggening. She convinces Kamran to leave without hurting anyone through a random hole she makes in the ground. Does anyone even know what's down there? And then the locals literally rally around her so she can also escape. A week later, Bruno talks with Kamala and says that her genetics are different from her parents, and she didn't just inherit her powers.
Like a mutation.
And then they have a quick animated X-Men theme riff for a second. And then in a post-credit scene, her bangle starts glowing and she switches places with Captain Marvel, an obvious lead-in for The Marvels where they will both show up. So there you have it, a summary of Ms. Marvel. If you watched the show, what did you think of it? If you didn't, will you watch it now? Let me know in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel for more content and like the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.